Hi, I'm Jo Dobson. I'm a Senior Sustainability Consultant at Useful Projects. I work with organisations to identify and implement circular economy opportunities, and I also provide sustainable procurement consultancy. Prior to this, I worked on the London 2012 Olympic Park as the waste manager during design and construction. Welcome to this short introductory presentation that's going to highlight the valuable role that procurement has to play as being a key enabler of the circular economy. So first, a quick introduction. At the moment, we have a linear economy. We take stuff out the ground, we make stuff with it, and we produce a lot of waste. Over 80% of the everyday products that we buy end up in the bin within 6 months. Really shocking stats. In the construction industry, which is the UK's largest generator of waste, waste management can cost a construction company up to 30% of its pre-tax profits. So there's a really strong link between money and waste. It's widely recognised that this current linear model is unsustainable. Not only is it a huge waste of money, but it's also morally wrong to be wasting so many of our planet's limited resources. So a circular economy is one where materials continue to flow continuously throughout the economy. We take less materials out the ground and we eliminate waste. And we try to keep them circulating throughout the economy at their highest value and quality. And there are a number of ways that you can do this. These include design for longevity, where you extend product life through resilient design and repair. Use of service models, where you pay for the use of something rather than own it. An example of this is printers in offices, where the printer company supplies, maintains and upgrades the printers, and you pay for printing as a service instead of buying the actual printers. With this model, old products are taken back by the supplier and remanufactured, thereby reducing waste. The third one is design for reuse, where a product can be reused at the end of its life without processing. For example, reuse of tyres in retaining wall structures. Or a product can be disassembled and the parts reused, or a building deconstructed and the components reused. And the final one is about recycling and recovery. This includes the ability of a product to be recycled at the end of its life, and also including recycled materials in a product. Recycling rates are generally increasing, but we should be aware that it devalues and downgrades the quality of materials, and we should be looking at other models as a priority. Now, which of these design models we choose to use will be dependent on the design life of the product. So if we take a building as an example, we would take a different approach for the structure, the outer layer here, which has a design life of 60 to 120 years, than we would for the services, so the heating and cooling in the building, which has a typical design life of 7 to 15 years. And we would also think about a different circular economy model for the stuff, the everyday things that we buy that have a design life for 0 to 3 years. So what role does procurement have to play in all of this? Well, a really significant one. The All-Party Parliamentary Sustainable Resources Group, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation and the Major Infrastructure Resource Optimisation Group have all recently identified that procurement plays a really key role as an enabler of the circular economy, and it's a really significant quick win in our transition. This is the life cycle of a typical building project, from strategy and brief through procurement, design, use and the end of life. To enable circular economy approaches to happen, each piece of this jigsaw puzzle needs to be taking action. This presentation is on the role of procurement, and procurement really is a gatekeeper between the organisation's strategy for circular economy and it actually being implemented in practice by the supply chain. So all of these earlier phases need to feed into procurement, and all of these later phases are affected by procurement. There are lots of potential benefits of circular procurement, as you can see here on the screen. They include whole life cost savings, but also a whole suite of environmental, social and business benefits. So in terms of the general approach that we should be taking, first and foremost, we need client leadership. The public sector in particular should be demonstrating leadership for circular economy solutions. It's in their interest to save the taxpayer money in the long term and demonstrate environmental responsibility. In the private sector, I think big brands and developers and businesses who own buildings for long periods of time should be among the first movers. The second one is about whole life value. We really need to be shifting away from focusing on just cutting capital costs and thinking about the total cost of ownership that includes maintenance and operation costs. But more than that, we need to be thinking about the whole life value benefits, those non-financial environmental social benefits that can be won by taking circular economy approaches. We need governance processes within a procurement department, but also within the wider organisation to enable circular economy approaches to be realised. And we hear this one a lot, but it's really important. We need collaboration, again, within an organisation, but also within a supply chain. And your supply chain will become more of a network rather than a collection of single companies. And we need lots of sharing of best practice, sharing of lessons learned to enable us all as an industry to move closer towards a circular economy. Now, some practical actions. This is a typical procurement cycle that all procurement professionals will be familiar with, and it aligns with British standard BS 8903 on sustainable procurement. Starting at the top with the sustainability policy or strategy, this is where you have the most influence because it dictates what happens over the rest of the cycle. It's really important that clients have some really strong policy hooks in their briefs and strategy documents to communicate to the supply chain their ambition to be a circular organisation and to stimulate innovation. Without that communication, it's very unlikely that you're going to get that innovation coming up. It's also really important that there are processes in place to cascade those requirements through subsequent procurement processes. The next step is identification of a need. Procurement professionals should continue to challenge the need, challenge the request, find out what is really wanted, think about different models for procuring things. You could do some market research to find out what kind of circular economy products and services are available. Or you could take an approach that organisations like the Olympic Delivery Authority, Crossrail and High Speed 2 take, which is to do some market consultation and early engagement around sustainability. And you can embed circular economy opportunities into that. Again, so you find out what the market is capable of doing and you use that to inform your procurement strategy, which is the next step. So when it comes to the procurement strategy, think about the type of contract that you can use. Could a design, build, finance, operate contract work? This will incentivise the contractor to think about the whole life value savings. Think about different business models. Could you hire it? Could you use a service model? Can you sort out some take-back arrangements? Could you buy, reuse? Could you share? And finally, think about the type of specification. There are two options here, the technical or the performance specification. With a technical specification, where you state exactly what you want, so a boiler of X size or an air conditioning system of a particular type. With the performance specification, you would state the outcome that you want, so office heating and cooling. Now, the performance specification is much better for driving innovation, but it does present its challenges. It's difficult to compare when you're evaluating. It's difficult to compare the like with like. So you need a strong evaluation panel. You need some governance processes to be able to compare different solutions. And I think it's also really important to include SMART objectives in your procurement process in the first place. When it comes to tender and contract award, make sure you're asking questions about the circular economy approaches that your contractors can take. So ask about their experience, ask about the approach they can take, and ask about the benefits that it can bring. And finally, contract implementation. When you're implementing a contract for the circular economy, I think it's really important that you have processes in place to review what's happening, identify lessons learned, and identify opportunities for continual improvement, because it is a new area. So in summary, there are lots of financial and moral reasons for moving from a linear economy to a circular economy, and lots of benefits that can be reaped. It's really important that we have client leadership, a focus on whole life value, the right governance processes to support circular economy solutions, and lots of collaboration. And we also need the circular economy to be embedded in every stage of the procurement cycle to really make it happen. Thank you for listening. I hope you found that interesting introduction. If you'd like to contact me to discuss anything I've presented here today, here are my contact details. Thanks.